Welcome to swords and hammers, where truth comes clothed in tales, and the soul remembers what the mind forgets. Settle in and listen well. The Angel of Sheafcote. A tale of harvest, of a stranger, and of the one door that cannot be shut. "Reap!" cried Osgood the Reeve for the third time to a village that was looking at the road. 40 people stood in the long furlong with sickles in their hands and barley to their waists, and the sky over the ridge was the colour of a whetstone. It was the Lord's boon day, when every tenant in Sheafcote owed a day's reaping to the Lord's barley, and the Lord owed them bread and cheese and water from the manna well in 2 casks. Osgood was a small, exact man, answerable for the water, the barley, and, as far as he could manage it, the sky. He was not a hard man. He was an accurate one. At Lammas, Sir Piers the priest had read them a verse about strangers and angels and being caught unawares. By the Wednesday of harvest, Sheafcote had improved it, as villages will, until it said that an angel was coming to Sheafcote. Osgood was not against angels. He had made arrangements for one, a chair at the head of the harvest supper, and the alms loaf at the manor gate at the vespers bell, as the custom was. There was a city once whose sin, the prophet said, was fullness of bread and idle ease, and a hand never stretched to the poor. It is not recorded that Sodom was short of anything. Nobody in the field had stopped to consider what angels do at harvests. The first traveller was the abbot's chaplain on a grey mule, and the whole line straightened like a hedge in a wind. Osgood himself carried up the jug. The chaplain drank, and blessed them, and asked the way to Rickford, and rode on. And the village bent to the barley again, with the bitterness of people who have been promised a marvel and given a clergyman. The second came on foot, a lean man in a hood the colour of the road, with one foot bound in a rag. He limped as far as the stile at the headland, sat down on it, and said, "Water, of your kindness." Now a stile is the one door in England that cannot be shut. You may bar a house and gate a field, but a stile stands open by its nature. It is a door made for nothing but crossing. 40 people looked at the man on it and decided, all at once and without a word, that he was not the angel, for nobody who has been told about the messengers of God expects them to arrive footsore. It is not written that every man on a stile is one of them, only that some are, and that you will not be told which. And Osgood, who was answerable, gave the answer. "The alms are at the manor gate at vespers, friend. The water is the reaper's, and it is counted. And the barley must be in before the rain." Every word of it was true. It is a terrible thing to be right at the wrong moment. Most of the cruelty in the world is done by men who are correct. Hob the Hayward, whose office was the hedges, and whose pleasure was disagreement, said the man should have his drink. But Hob had said the opposite of Osgood every day since Whitsun, and everybody knew it, so the Reeve was right twice. The stranger looked at the sky over the ridge. "I shall not be here at vespers," he said, and did not move. The line reaped on. You know that field. You have had that sky over you, and a thing that must be finished by dark, and somebody sitting where he could be seen from every row. The barley beards got into sleeves and eyes, and palms that had been hard since May split along their old lines, and the sky over the ridge went from whetstone to wet slate. Sheafcote loved its own. It would reap a sick neighbour's strip and think nothing of it, and it did, that very year, twice. It was only the stranger it had forgotten, and it had forgotten him the way a village forgets, which is not by losing a thing but by remembering something else instead. There is no lonelier place on earth than a stile beside a village that is watching the sky. Dickon carried the water. He was 10, the son of the widow Cecily, whose man had died at Candlemas. Her own acre under the ridge stood uncut that day, because a boon day is a boon day, and the Lord's barley comes first. Dickon had heard about the angel like everybody else, and had decided, with the whole weight of 10 years, that no angel would come to Sheafcote, which had never had anything. So he was not looking at the road, and he was the only one. He came down the last row with the jug on his hip, and saw a man on the stile with his mouth open, and did what a boy with a jug does, which is to hand it over. He did not do it because he was good. He did it because nobody had yet taught him that water belongs to anybody. The stranger drank. There is a man who has said that what is done to the least of these is done to him, and he has never taken it back. God does not wait to be known before he comes. That is the whole mercy of the hiding. "The water is counted," Osgood called from the top of the field, "down 40 rows. Dickon stood where he was, and looked at the reeve, and said nothing, and did not go. Anybody would give an angel a drink. It takes courage to give one to a tramp. The stranger gave back the jug. "What are you called?" "Dickon." "Then peace on your mother's house, Dickon," said the man. He got down off the stile on the far side, into the lane, and was gone under the ridge before the boy had turned round. The rain held off until the last acre but one. Once, straightening his back at the top of the field, Osgood saw a reaper working alone in the widow's acre under the ridge, where no reaper had any business to be. He put it down to the heat, and to Hob, who was always where he should not be. Then the first drops came, as broad as hazelnuts, and he forgot it. They ran the last sheaves under cover with barley beards in their teeth, and ate the harvest supper in the barn round an empty chair. Sheafcote went home in the wet with the whole grievance of having been promised an angel and given a tramp. It did not cross one mind in the village that it had been asked to entertain a stranger, and had been sent one, and had let him sit on a stile. Osgood stayed to bar the barn, which was his duty. There, with the bar in his hands, he remembered the whole of Sir Piers's verse, for he had a memory like a barn, into which everything was put, and at which nothing was ever looked. The last word of it was unawares. It sat in him, like a barley beard in a sleeve, which cannot be found, and cannot be forgotten. Cecily went home by the ridge, with Dickon asleep on his feet and the empty jug, and stopped in the lane, in the rain, and looked at her acre. It was cut from the lane to the wood, every stalk of it. It stood in stooks of 10 against the weather, the sheaves leaning on one another, as sheaves must if they are to stand at all. Hob hadn't done it, and said so loudly for the rest of his life. Nobody in Sheafcote had done it, and Sheafcote knew its own hands. Cecily looked for a long while, and then said, "Well," to the sky, which was the nearest she ever came to praying. And the sky, for once, had nothing to say back. Every sheaf in that acre was bound with a knot that no one in the parish had ever tied, and the rain ran off them as if it had been told where to go. Selah.